you are seen as somebody who is strong, somebody who is bold, somebody who can conquer. Even in some societies, when young boys go through initiation, they are now branded as you are not, or even younger, when they have gone through initiation, they are told that you are now a man. This can as or even at all. So that they feel that now when you have maybe a boy or a man besides you, maybe any have this particular person besides me. Therefore, I'm protected, and therefore that's why now that society expectation now comes strong that now you are the man. You're supposed to face it like a man. Even you have that particular expression, face this thing like a man. You are the man, so you're supposed to face like that. Yeah? And then of course you have the issue of self-reliance. You're supposed to become self-reliance, self-independent. And I normally pose this question that if you're going to give support to particular people, and you had maybe a young man, and then they came to ask for help and say, I don't have food or I need support. I want to be given X things. Then where do you feel you can support more? Where will the heart go first? You'll find that most likely you're going to look at the woman and say, oh, this woman has children, she's suffering. But the man will say, when mwanaume, tafuta kibarua afanye. You don't come disturbing people. You are easily dismissed just because you are a man. And therefore, even though you're going through struggles, then you don't have that particular reception. And the same thing will apply when you have the issue of like gender-based violence. If I hit my wife, she can run to the police station and say, George has assaulted me, George has done this to me. And the police will be under my case that now you have done this assault and you have to be arrested and all that. But now if you flip the table again and say now I'm the one being assaulted and now I'm the one suffering in the hands of this lady. When I go there, everyone will start laughing, I'll be dismissed and all that. So we have that particular perception. And that's why when it comes to the issue of grieving, it becomes quite a challenge when it comes to the man. Then you have the issue of underreporting of mental health struggles. Normally, they're not reported as such because that perception that you're a man, you are strong, you're supposed to face it. And because of that one, we have very high rates of substance abuse, suicide, and emotional suppression. And we have this National Drug and Health Survey of 2022. They talk about men are likely to suffer from substance abuse than women, with a rate of 10.8% versus 5.8%. While men and women suffer from addiction, their motivations for abusing substances tend to differ. And that again will tell you that we have gone through loss or grief. Now, in terms of dealing with it, how we deal with it becomes a challenge. That's why, because more men cannot face this one, they tend to come back, they start to fall, maybe start eating them. And because they are suffering inside or they're hurting, you find that they now start taking substances or alcohol and stuff like that. For women, they are very good in terms of social groups, chamas and all that. They meet there and they talk about the issues in the family. This is how my husband is beating me, how I'm going through this particular man. And of course, she'll have a lot of emotional support. But on the other hand, when men meet in their own groups, they rarely discuss about the family issues. At most, they'll discuss about purchasing land, purchasing vehicles, investments, opportunities, and stuff like that. While among themselves, there could be one of them who is suffering domestic abuse. But if you just try to raise that, maybe among men, they just dismiss you. Mambo ya mama peleka kwa nyumbani. Nobody will listen to you. And that's why we find that now a lot of men will go through this suffering, even though you look very happy on outside, you have a social network of friends and all that, but this one continues to happen. Now, let's look at healthy grieving for men. So we're saying that grieving for men, just like everyone else, involves acknowledging and processing loss in ways that are emotionally authentic, supportive, and sustainable. So we are saying that yes, you'll go through this loss, you go through this grief. When you go through this one, there should be a way of acknowledging and processing that loss in ways that are emotionally authentic, supportive, and sustainable. That is what will help men to process this so that this one does not weigh down. Because remember, even when you go through a loss and maybe there's no maybe weeping, there's no crying, that still is a wound in the mind and the heart of a man, and they'll keep on affecting him, going on and all that. So they need to be supported in that, in terms of that. And men may face unique social and cultural pressures that influence how they grieve. Like I mentioned, there are a lot of social pressures. If you don't have finances, like people know that you're a man. I used to visit my grandmother. Now, when you see that sina pesa, they look at you and say, hii nguo yako ni mfuko yote, unaweza kosa pesa, unaweza kosa 50, unaweza kosa 100, like that, eh? But the same pressure is not for women, because even they say I don't have this, they are seen as they're supposed to be supported. And therefore, when a man does not have the finances or the resources to meet a particular task, there is a lot of pressure that comes on you. And even tell you, can you do something about it? And that's why now maybe people now go to maybe criminal activities or do things that, because this pressure is too much, I have to do something about it. Then you find that I kind of indulge into this one. And of course, the consequences are not very pleasant. So grieving is very important for them, just to see how they can deal with it. Eh? And of course, you have a lot of things that a man may grieve about. Uh,
Hello.
a man may grieve loss of a friend, family member, a partner, or a pet. That's a loss that you've experienced. You've lost a friend, a family member, a partner, or a pet. You may have the issue of a marriage, friendship. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you very much. The issue of marriage, friendship, or any other form of kinship, that's a loss. Or your home, neighborhood, or community. You may have the issue of your job or career. Maybe you have been separated from your job. The issue of financial stability. I think I mentioned about this one. And sometimes, as a society, that can also be something that you can also consider, because you'll find that when it comes to the financial support that society provides, you may find that we have the normal lending institutions like the banks and all that, which provides financial support to men and women alike. But we also have some which have gone an extra step to say that in case we are targeting women or vulnerable girls, and therefore find that for them they may get that support at a subsidized rate. Like for example, the Kenya Women Finance Trust and many others, they are going to target our focus on women and all that. And therefore, for Wanaume, join the other league, yeah. So that again may also be maybe something that may cause a man to have those kind of strain. Then the issue of a dream or a goal that you're supposed to achieve, that may also affect. Good health, like I mentioned, long-term terminal illnesses, the issue of being bedridden, loss of an organ, that again may become a huge loss. You can imagine if you are the breadwinner in a family, and then God forbid you have like long-term illness or terminal illness, or you have loss of a limb, and therefore it means that you cannot go to work as you used to go, and therefore now you have to be bedridden. So you can imagine what that means. This man, yeah, you have lost your part of your body, you have lost your income, and now you have to maybe depend on other people or well wishers to come and support you. That can be very challenging for the man. The other thing is about your youth, how you spent your youth, if you have some regrets and all that, or the issue of fertility. There are people who have issues of fertility, and therefore there'll be demand that you have never had a child, you have not had this one, and therefore that again may impact and may cause the man to grieve that particular loss, because that is something that he has not experienced. Now, everyone grief is unique, and we sometimes find that men and women react differently during a loss, and that men's health can be particularly affected. We see that men can be reluctant to get checked out, but need to look after yourself at this difficult time. Yes, I know even when it comes to medical checkup, it's most people, especially for men, they rarely go for checkup. And you can even ask people who are here without maybe asking you to tell us. The last time we went for a medical checkup, that means that I'm not sick, but I feel that it has been a year. without maybe any medical attention. And therefore, I feel that I need just to go to the hospital to get medical attention or to get just be checked out. You find that it's rare, rarely. Maybe if they are there, maybe they are a very small percentage in terms of those who go to kind of get checked out. Yeah, but you're saying that it's very difficult that you need to look at yourselves in these particular times because you could be having issues and because we are like doing many things. So you find that you need to get that time for your checkup. Um, so we say when it comes to grieving, we say women tend to be more demonstrative. They don't mind showing their vulnerability, cry the emotions, take over, and grief becomes overwhelming. Say, for example, there's a loss, like the example we are giving here, the issue of either abductions or even loss of a child. The women may come out very strong in terms of wailing, weeping, and even expressing what they have gone through and all that. But the same is not very common for men. There could be a few, like I did give the example, but find that most men will like try to take it like the ones who are like consoling others. Mambo ya Mungu, tusijali, itafanyika vizuri, and all that. So that again may also become overwhelming. So on the other hand, many men feel they need to remain unflappable and put a brave front, like I said. Like you don't like weep. You just want to have that particular phase. At an early age, boys seem to take the signal from the elders and block the pain behind the wall of silence. And we can understand why that happens, especially when it comes out of initiation, and now you become a boy. So you can imagine the boy has gone through initiation, and then maybe there's a loss in the family, and you are sitting crying. Then you'll hear a lot of comment that you're not a man enough. You're supposed to be brave. You're supposed to show resilience in the face of all this calamity. But that's not the case. We know that now even men are vulnerable. They break down and they need to be allowed to grieve that way without being condemned or being challenged. That you're a man, take it strong or like that. Some men may cope using alcohol and adopting risk-taking behaviors to dull the emotions. Have a smaller network of friends to lean as opposed to women who rely on their female friends for support. That's what now happens to men. Because now when you have that loss, you don't want to grieve in front of your wife or in front of your children. You want to put this masochism, you want to put this particular brave face. And when you put this one, you are like hurting the inside. You have those tears which are not coming out. They're like they say the tears are coming, they are getting back to your body or back to your emotions. And you start now as a way of coping because when it becomes overwhelming, you are faced with this particular challenge, then you find that you have no way of facing it. So you start indulging in alcohol in the hope that by the time I take alcohol, these thoughts, this reality will go away. Or you start some risk taking behaviors. And that's why you may find that because of what we are experiencing, and I want to thank the organizers for this one, we also need to evaluate the issue of betting. You find that most people who bet are men. They are men. And these are some of the risky behaviors. So that I want to do something that can either resolve my financial challenges, and therefore I get in the issue of betting. And you find that most of them will like spend most of their fortune there, so that I know I'll I'll win this lot or I'll make a win out of this one, and they'll keep on there. Or they may start having some risky behaviors. You see, like sometimes some of these events that people normally try, even like these games which are very risky. You feel that men will like say, "Let me get into it." It's a way of because this energy is pent up energy. When the energy is pent up, then it means that it has to come out in some way. For it to come out, they'll now get either alcohol. If they're people who like indulging in alcohol, they will take alcohol. If they're not into alcohol, they may go to the issue of risking behaviors. I've mentioned about betting, plus there are many others. It can also be sexual behaviors, whereby you are now like indulging in sex anyway. So that's a way of dealing with the emotions. And the other thing is that you reduce the network of friends that you have. You say now because I don't want people to see what I'm going through, I reduce the number of friends. I just have a very small team. And even in those small teams that you're having, they don't discuss anything that goes on in their family. Rarely they discuss about the emotions, about their losses, about their griefs. They'll keep it there. But female friends, of course, is the opposite. They try to express it in many ways. So that's very key just to know about in terms of the way of grieving, either loss or death. Um, so we say that many men may be less likely to talk to others about how they are feeling. I say that even when you have those type of friends, rarely, and they can tell you, even the men who are here, they'll tell you, you can ask, you can just have a reflection in your own way, in your own circle of friends that you have, and the things that you discuss, be it investment, be it business, be it any other focus that you have. How many times have we discussed about our feelings? But I've lost something. I've lost a job. I lost a bet, and that's why even when they lose a bet, they won't tell their friend that I've lost a bet. They'll say, jana kilimana kidogo, lakini kitu kidogo, and then they'll go back to it again. So they'll discuss about events, issues, and all that, but they rarely discuss about their feelings. Then they may less likely express their emotions, with anger being a possible exceptions. So they rarely express their emotions. They try as much as possible that they did not discuss about their whatever they are going through. Then we say that men can feel a pressure to be strong and silent and to be in charge, solve problems. Yeah. So we have this sense that we are strong and we're just silent and can become in charge of solving emotions. Or the other way that men can also address this one in terms of pressure of being silent and strong, you can now start with like people go to other activities. Maybe you can let me go to the gym, let me do things. So they're doing it just to like to expite the energies, or not to face whatever they're going through. There are things that they may throw themselves into distracting behaviors. Yes, work. You find that somebody will tell you that so and so napenda kazi, anaingia kazi saa 12 asubuhi na anatoka saa 12 jioni. We call them workaholics. And so, but those behaviors, they're not like they like that job so much, but they don't want to face the reality. In fact, discussing with men, most of men, and in kind of circles, like when we conduct counseling, you'll find that they tell you we spend more time in work because I want to spend less time at home. Because when I go home, makelele, kulizwa hii, kuambiwa hii, so you have a lot of things. So you kind of engage in a destructive behavior. It can be a behavior that's not bad, can be like a job, the work that you do, but you spend long hours there. Or you go to the gym, you spend long hours there, or you start doing other things which are like distracting you from facing the loss. So you have this loss, but then instead of facing it, let me do other things or practical tasks or even a new relationship. They say now that I'm going through this one, let me have this new one in the hope that we can be able to be discussing these things in a mutual way. As I said, some men turn to alcohol, drugs, risk-taking behaviors to cope or mask their feelings. Remember, this loss and grief when it happens, it affects you. But then if I can't cope with them, those feelings don't go away. The feelings remain with you, and you become so distracted by those feelings, you start engaging in distracting behaviors, or you may now start doing abusing substances, alcohol, and stuff like that. And very sadly, grieving men are more likely to be at risk of suicide and death because this. If you look at the graph, when you have loss, you're not able to face it. Maybe I've lost a job. I was the breadwinner, and therefore I need to kind of grieve that loss. Then I start wondering maybe what happened. Why did I lose this job? Where will I go? I was the breadwinner. Now I'm left like this. So what will happen? So gradually, those particular feelings and thoughts they keep on affecting the man by and by because I'm not expressing them out. I'm not finding another solution. And when that happens, you can reach the end and say, then what's the meaning of this life if I don't have this one? So you may end up kind of having suicide or a risky behavior, which could be like I'm doing things which can cause my death. Yeah, even sometimes some things on the road, things on the water sites, and all that. So that they are like most likely going to drive you into death. All that. So that's what you can say about that. And then when it comes to symptoms, we have anger, that someone or something seen as responsible for the loss, like I said about a job or even divorce, but sometimes of the self or nothing in particular. This anger, it is like in three ways. One, it can be I'm directing this anger to someone. this is a person responsible for my loss, either because of the divorce or because of the job or whatever I've lost. I'm directing my anger there. Or it can be to myself. I'm blaming myself. I could have done this before I saw it coming, or for any reason, then I say I'm the one. Or there's no one to blame, therefore I'm blaming myself. I'm useless, I don't know what kind of man I am, and all that, yeah? Or at something nothing in particular. So now, because I have nothing to blame on this one, then I'll start like now grief, kind of harboring those particular feelings. Eh? Then irritability, you may become easily irritated and annoyed. And I've seen this most of the times. Eh? Unaongea na mtu kidogo and then like small things na kuannoy. It can even be a word, eh? Maybe like a joke. And then that becomes an issue, and not just an issue to overcome. Inakuwa ni something that you even have to apologize, or you even have to maybe express, or even cause division, yeah, or anger between the two of you. Then you also have withdrawal. You tend to withdraw from social contact as well as withdraw emotionally, experiencing the emotional numbness. And that's why when you're having maybe a group of men, maybe if you have your friends, I know we as men, we have our groups, either the investment or the whatever they are. If one of the members in our group does not like, it's not like actively engaging the discussion or in whatever we are doing, then you need to like side chat that particular person to know, but then what is happening. I see you are not happy and all that. Or even in a group, because sometimes these discussions we have them online. When they happen in online and one of our members is not like talking so much, it's like withdrawing, or whenever I say we are meeting, I can excuse I won't come because of this, or for any reason they like somehow they're withdrawing, then that's a sign that we need to kind of talk, find out what is happening. Or even not just waiting for such meetings, calling your friends at random just to say hi to them. Because when somebody reaches out to them, showing that they care, then somehow that may also help in terms of addressing the issue of withdrawal. Then rumination, that's thinking about the disease or death in general. Yeah? That is, keep thinking about it, how it happened, where we were. And sometimes it can even lead to the issue of maybe I could have done something different. I wish I was there, or I wish I took this particular position or this particular angle. And that's because men are naturally like thinkers. They kind of put them in their mind. They're not like emotional. Women are very emotional. They are very expressive, like I mentioned. They're going to say things, whatever they're affecting them, to come out. But men may tend to, this, we call it brooding. Yeah? Brooding is I'm thinking about something and I keep on repeating how it happened, how it went, and all that. And by doing this one, it keeps on affecting me because I'm not getting a solution, but I'm getting like how it has affected me and what I could have done differently, and I'm blaming so and so and all that. That rumination, again, that's why when you see a man sitting like this, then we need to see. No, there's a time I saw a meme somewhere, unasema wamekaa tu nafikiria hivi, and then maybe they're trying to think about many things, and then naambiwa tu wewe unafikiria kama wanawake. So sometimes you can be misjudged, wewe unafikiria tu kuhusu kitu fulani, but sometimes maybe they agree, they are kind of ruminating the issue of a loss they have experienced or grief somewhere. Then substance abuse, I did mention this one as a way of coping, alcoholism and drugs. And remember, this one now you can even make a spot check where you are living. And I've seen even where I'm living now, we have a lot of these wines and spirits which are opening and they are cropping up. And if you just make a simple round in that area, you find that ziko nyingi sana na wengi kwa ni wazee wako. There are women, yes, but wengi ni wazee. Ni watu wasema, by the way, why is this like this? And of course, the uptake, that shows that if they're having more and more, maybe we having a lot of them in operation, it means that kuna business. Na kama ni men wanaingia huko wengi, by the way, why then men are like ending up in these particular places? Is it because it's available? Is it because they're dealing with grief? Or that's a place whereby they find an expression of like venting out. Just ukiwa then you have now the energy to say, like that. So maybe, I don't know, or maybe other kind of substances like mira, bang, and all that. And of course, the vulnerability to physical wellness and low libido is a reality because the mind is like stressed and you're not able to focus. And again, that may cause divorce or may cause separation in your family because you are facing that as a reality. I did say that these are normal reactions to distress of loss. They often pass in time, but you need to consult a counselor if the symptoms persist or the problem persists. You need to kind of to, because you're saying that anger, yes, you can have anger, you can become irritable, but now that should not like become a predominant reality that you are always like that. Nimekaa miezi sijui ngapi, almost like miezi. It's now something that is defining me. It should be like coming and moving on. Then I have just a few things before I hand it back, but I just want to mention about the issue of being a sounding board. So what you can do for the man? Be available for phone call. Assure him that you will listen. Offer support and not judgment. As I did mention that sometimes when you see that amenyamaza, either it could be your husband, it could be yourself, it could be another friend of yours, na umeona haongei sana, like so much withdrawn, kind of reach out to him. Maybe if he's far, then you can make a phone call. If it's not far, you can maybe make a visit, a physical visit, mkechi naye. You can even say tuende mahali tuongee, vitu kama hizo. It can be like when you have regular discussions, then most likely they may find that there's somebody who is available to listen to me, and that can also be something good, because I said men will likely to maybe try to withdraw and to just to be on their own. Assist in creating activities with time for reflection, go for a walk, playing sport together, and that's something that's very key. I'll come back to it again. When you have recreational activities, sport and all that. And I know even for the young boys when they're growing up, because this thing you're talking is for men. But remember, socialization and maybe how a child has been brought up, it starts from there. I know I have a teenage boy. One of the things that sometimes but I would like to encourage him to go and play and take a walk, because if there's something that inamsumbua, you'll have the forum ya kwanza kumwambia I'm present, tell me, discuss these things with me, na naweza niambia na tunaongea. Lakini sometimes you may find that labda haikuji, but kumwambia enda cheze sport na all that may be a way of dealing with it. Labda amepoteza kitu shule na nataka kuambia na all that, so nacheza, that can also be something. So it doesn't start when we are like in 40s, 50s na hivyo. Hapana, it starts even when you are a small boy, so that they are trained on how to cope with their feelings. Even that's why we have the men and women in this call. Our young boys, they are also taught how to have creative activities. Then watch out for warning signs. Some men repress their feelings of emotion, which can have repercussions down the line. Which you say that na spread because nikionyeshana feelings zangu naonekana mimi si mwanaume, naonekana na umama. I remember during the Women's Day, some men were being wished Happy Women's Day, and then wanauliza why are you wishing me Women's Day na leo siku ya kina mama? Nasema kwa sababu nakuwa na umama mwingi, so that like you are being branded. If you are like very expressive in terms of emotion, naambia unakuwa na umama and all that, and that becomes an insult. And when that happens, you recall it back and you start maybe having the feelings just on your own. So we watch out for withdrawal, depression, deterioration in family relationships and friends, anxiety and alcohol or drug abuse. If your friends ameanza kosa kwenda kazi, labda he had a business na afungui on time, maybe he was opening the business at 6 a.m, siku hizi anafungua saa 3, saa 4, and then anafunga late ama anafunga mapema. Those changing patterns can also be things that this person is going through some loss or grief or some kind of depression or some kind of anxiety. So watch out for them. Any change in routines, labda even the dressing, he used to be maybe well kept and neat and all that, even when going to work. Nowadays hata avai anataka vaa shati siku 2 matatu malongi, kiatu hajakuwa brush and all that. All just saying that kitu kinamsumbua, na hiyo inamsumbua, labda hasemi, lakini needs to have somebody who can like just reach out and just talk. In where I'm living, I have a friend, a man, na we normally go fellowship together na yeye na with the wife. They used to come together like the wife, and then at some time nikona the wife is coming now alone, nakuja peke yake, kumuuliza nakwambia hapana, nimekuwa na shughuli mingi, nimekuwa na kazi na all that. And then we came to learn later now that kumbe kumekuwa na issue nyumbani, and now they are separated, and now the man is not even able to come and to fellowship with us, and in any effort to invite him to come and we fellowship, then anatuna hapana, mimi sitaki, nitakuja na all that. And of course the wife would tell us, that's how we came to know about. The wife would tell us, squeeze so and so atupatani, mtu anafanya, anakuambia mambo mingi zao za kifamilia. Lakini ukiongea na mume umuulize, by the way, mbona ukuji na kusaidia aje, nasikia hiyo unataka kabisa muongea mambo zingine yote, lakini anamwambia hiyo acha kabisa. So that's the reality that we are living with, and we just find a way on which we can tunajaribu kumwongelesha marafiki zake, so at least najua aweze kuongea na come out of that. Now I want to go to now the man himself, the grieving of the man, and then we'll take questions at once you've done this one. So how can we grieve? So one, acknowledge the loss. No, we are saying that we have been socialized to stay strong and keep it together, but healthy grieving begins with allowing yourself to feel. Najua nimesema men for us we are thinkers. Vitu mingi tunafanya tunatumia tunatumia akili, na sasa tunazoea kila kitu like I'm always putting in my mind anything I'm told I am processing. Thought processing inakuwa very very strong, but we're saying that we need to have grieving, allowing yourself to feel, have the feeling, and even having these discussions with men, even when having discussions and maybe one of them you feel kama hiyo shida, if you're going to talk to this particular person, maybe come on in counselor, let the person maybe use the words of feeling. Most of them is like feel. I feel angry, I feel sad, I feel offended, I feel abused, all those things. In this idea to bring down toa kichwa mpaka kwa roho. Kwa tunasema the longest distance we have is from the mind to the heart. Sasa mnakuwa sana kutoka kwa kichwa kuja kwa roho, then that kanakuwa ni kibarua. So give permission to grieve sadness, confusion, guilt, and even numbness are all valid. Sana that grieving is weakness, it's a human response to love and loss. So msaidie kwa akili kuja kwa roho, ndiweze kufeel. Then the second one is that as a man, feel and express emotions. Suppressing grief can lead to long-term emotional and physical consequences. Talk about it with a friend, therapist, support group, or even journaling. Journaling just you jot what you have gone through, your feelings and all that. Then you have creative outlets. If you're good in terms of drawing, listening to music, or composing music, or listening to music, or writing, that's okay. Or working with your hands can help what words can't. So it means that if the man is grieving and maybe he's very good, say dexterous, anafanya kazi na mkono, he's a carpenter, he's a mason, anafanya kazi ya mkono, let that be what afanye hiyo, because that also helps in terms of addressing. It helps in terms of bringing out what words cannot, because you're looking at all these things you are doing, you're looking for an avenue of bringing out those particular emotions. Kama anaweza chora, ama anaweza kuimba, ama anaweza compose wimbo, and all that, let the person do it. Na kama ni mtu kufanya kazi, napenda kufanya kazi na mkono, pia kanajenga, pake rangi, and all that, let the person do that one. That's the physical expression. Because some men, or at exercise, akimbie, hiking, building something, that's a way of bringing out that health outlet. Because remember, this stored energy, lazima ipate njia kutoka. So ikipata njia kutoka, then that becomes good. Then stay connected. It's a common way of grieving, but often once emotional pain. Spend time with trusted family or friends, even without talking about grief. Consider men's grief support groups. Najua huku kwetu wasikuwa mingi sana. What we have is for women. Au wanakuwa na a lot of support groups, but for men, there could be a group for other things, but not for grief support, because of the reasons that I've explained earlier. Where others may share similar emotional experiences in a judgment-free space. So we are saying that these groups are normal, that can help us in terms of processing the emotional pain. If you can have maybe a member or being part of such groups, then that can help in terms of addressing the concern that you have. So that you don't have isolation, because we mentioned about the withdrawal. Na withdraw, anakaa nafikiria, anachanganya mambo mengi kwa akili yake. But now we need to have some connection somehow, some groups. Lakini pia, in these particular groups, it should not be a group that is counterproductive. Say for example, it's something like maybe wanakunywa pombe, so wanakuwa connected, lakini hii group yake ni walevi, so whenever they meet, ingia kwa bar ama kwanza kutumia some substances, that may lead to the person to sinking more into that particular problem. But kama kuna group that gives any form of support, it could be like maybe, I know men do not have this particular group, but when we have such groups, maybe in social settings, child settings and all that, that may be a good place where they can share similar emotional experiences. I know like people who are like in marriage, for example, we have this maybe singles. They say that we have women who are single normally have their singles group. I don't know if you have one for men, but you have like maybe singles for men. si ndio tumekataliwa ama tumeachana ama ni, so that also can also help the person to grieve somehow. They have a safe space for expressing that. Then the other thing is that I know as counseling we normally talk about the stages of grief and all that, the denial, anger, bargaining, depression, and acceptance. And sometimes may fall in the trap of like making them look like they go linear. Unaanza na denial, nenda kwa anger, nenda kwa bargaining, alafu ukifika acceptance, then hapo umekubali. But sometimes they may not appear in that order at all. They may appear in that order or not at all. So don't compare that journey to others. And you avoid the pressure of move on. Focus instead of integrating the loss into your life. Let me just explain this kidogo. When we talk about the issue of grieving, talk about Kubler has something about this in terms of these stages. But sometimes we may feel that that's how they should follow each other. That if you acceptance, then you have overcome that one. No, but this one they do not follow that system. Inaweza kirudi, inaweza kaa nayo sana, iende kwa bargaining, iende kwa denial, iende kwa anger, iende kwa depression. It can keep on going like that. That's why we need to maybe be patient, and there's no timeline for this one. It goes depending on somebody psychological disposition. It also depends on the family history. There's so many factors that come to this one. There are things that you don't compare that journey to others. Unasema ati si so and so alipoteza kijana yake na after 1 month amekuwa sawa tu, hata amerudi kazi. Sasa huyu yake na amekaa karibu miezi 3 na hajai rudi kazi na amekuwa like that. So comparing the journey of this man to other men may also be disadvantageous or may also affect that man. And we also avoid the pressure of move on. I know as a country we are famous for this one. Let us move on and other things. But when it comes to the issue of grieving, you should not have the pressure of move on. You instead focus on integrating the loss into your life. Kama ilifanyika, yes, sasa na kijana and all that, so it becomes part and parcel of your life. That's the focus that should be had there. And then about the meaningful rituals, they help bring closure and honor the relationship. Attend or create a memorial visit that hold meaning. Celebrate and valorize in your own way. Say, for example, the loss that you're talking about, the grieving that you're having as a country, or even the grief that you have maybe happening in the loss of grief. We need to honor, to have closure and honor the relationship. So if you are maybe loss of a child or loss of a loved one, then we need to have that memorial or for that maybe like an anniversary after maybe 1 year, unakumbuka and all that. Na grieve, na appreciate the time ambao umekuwa naye, the things that you have shared and all that. That can also help in terms of getting in touch. Kumbuka, when we talk about grieving, we don't want you to deny that it happened, because when you deny, that means that you hold on that first step. Ni kujua kwamba so and so we lost, ama kama ni kazi nasema I lost this job and I've got another one. So wakati una go to another one, then you kind of you celebrate. You celebrate even the small wins. Pata kazi nyingine ni celebrate. Nimepata kibali nyingine na all that. Then take care of your body. Grieving is physical as well as emotional. Eat, sleep, and move regularly. Avoid using alcohol, work, or sex to numb the pain. It often delays in healing. Sometimes you find that somebody ako na issue of grieving and then hakuli, anakaa tu, halali, hamove, yani amekaa like amejaa, kaa tu kama wewe sio mkutembea kidogo. I had a friend like that wakati mmoja, alikuwa like this emotional. Tunaenda maombolezi kwao. Yeye hata haongei, hamove, anakaa pale ile kitu alikuwa amekalia tu pale. Yeye anakaa tu, anasikiza tu, unasemaje kwa fulani? Amenyamaza tu. Hata asemi endeleeni mfanye nini. Just like become numb. Hata kama nitakuwa nakula kidogo. So that again may affect. So if we have men, unajua labda because of this emotional drain, labda hata hakuli, halali vizuri, just make sure that you encourage the person to eat kama ni kidogo kidogo mara nyingi, na aweze kurelax, maybe more of discussion about what has happened. That may also help in terms of addressing this one, and also avoid the issue of alcoholism or the issue of sex, because sometimes you may even go into a sexual spree. A way of like, let me now numb this pain. That may often delay the healing. And then seek professional help when needed. It can become complicated and lead to depression and anxiety. If you're feeling stuck, suicidal, hopeless, a therapist, especially experienced in men's grief, can help. therapy is not about being broken. And I think we have heard this often. It's not about being broken. It's a way of taking care of yourself and those who depend on you. So seek professional help. Then lastly, define your strength. Health grieving can mean you're being vulnerable unnecessarily, asking for help and finding the pain. And then you're able to grieve as men. So I just want, so in summary, that's what we are saying. We have two modes. One side is focus on the loss, talking to people how you feel, remembering the person who died, allowing yourself to cry and feeling your emotions. I said you're taking the things from your mind because the men most of us we like rationalizing and putting things in our mind and bring down to our hearts. So are able to talk to people, to other people. You are able to we call it sublimation. You are doing other things which are also helpful to you. Then on the other side, you're also doing some practical things to restore your life, working, dealing with practical issues and all that. It helps bring a balance on both sides. So I would like to pause there because I know just to allow for questions, clarification, and we'll be able to move. So back to you, Evans, so I can hear if there are any questions, so that I don't take all the time talking here alone.
Thank you so much, George. That was very, very informative. And maybe George will just, I don't know whether you'll just leave your presentation. Maybe someone has a question. But I appreciate you. Um, Personally, I choose to appreciate you by by a clap. So maybe any other person can appreciate George using any other way. Uh, Thank you, Joseph, Mary, Augustine, Munira, and everyone else. So then, what is it that has caught your ears and your eyes this evening, as George was presenting? For me, two things caught my ears and my eyes. One is that the longest distance from the head is from the head to the heart. The longest distance is from the head to the heart, helping us as men, moving from our thought processes, our thought, and putting our energy in our thoughts to now putting our energy in our feelings, especially during this period of mourning, this period of grieving. That it's okay for us men not just to keep on thinking of what is happening, what has happened, how will it happen, what will become. So then, two, how am I feeling? What are the emotions around me and in me regarding to what is happening? That was very powerful. And also a question that I asked myself: am I there for a fellow man when he is grieving, or am the one who is labeling him as having umama? That really came out very well for me. Am I there for this man when this man is grieving? Then how am I there to support this man? So that I can give a shoulder? I think there's somewhere where George, you talked of giving a shoulder, being a shoulder, or something like that, so that now this man can lean, can find a safe space for him to, vent out, for him to say, to share about certain things. So that is what I can say. Maybe I leave also for someone else. What is it that has caught your ears, has caught your eyes this evening? And perhaps any question that you have. I don't know whether I leave it open or I ask. Yes, Mary.
Okay. For me, it's more of a question, especially in regard to hapo umesema story ya umama. I've encountered a client who um, has been grieving, and I would say maybe now it's a double grief because at first it was the spouse, and then like 6 months down the road, he lost his source of income. Um, But at some point before we got to the loss of a source of income, I felt it was important to connect him with a men's support group. And I even got one and got him the number, and I asked him to. At first, he was like, okay, I'll try and talk to him. But every time he insists, unajua, the problem with talking to men is they don't want, you can't open up to them emotionally. Wanataka kuongea, like you want to talk the hard stuff. So my question is, maybe to you or to George, is how do you get to assure them that a support group would be helpful? Because I felt like maybe talking to other men who are also grieving, they will come up with pointers that will help him deal with the grief. Yeah. I hope it's clear.
So maybe if
So maybe you're asking how you can.
Okay.
George, go on.
Yeah, so
I
how
can
do
hear
you
you.
convince? What came out so strongly is that he felt he can't share with a fellow man or fellow men how he feels emotionally. Because it's like watambash.
Okay.
Maybe what you're talking about mama. So how do you convince? Because clearly there's a problem. How do you convince that man that not even convincing, like let him see the point of meeting with other men, because he wasn't ready for that at all.
Okay. Thank you. I see Tom hand is up. I don't know if he's responding to that question.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Mary who addressed that?
Yes, it's Mary.
Yeah, Mary, I've been quiet and thank you, George, so much and listening. I may wish to maybe respond to Mary with also some experiences. In the last few years, I've also had some serious grieving personally. Two very tough grievings. But as a man, I can only say, and as I respond to Mary, for us men, it is more not like, it's not even so much the women or the children. The biggest challenge comes when we are grieving and when we are vulnerable or when we have loss. It is our fellow men. In such times of even it's not just a question of when you are grieving or having a mental loss. Even when you're showing us the slightest weakness, it is your fellow men who are the most dangerous. So now, when you add when you're grieving, you're not just weak, you are emotionally vulnerable. There are all the other signs that come. What you're saying, like bargaining, feeling shameful, denial. Now those ones come. The men, not everybody in your circle will be able to understand what you're going through. And some men will bash you, others will make it difficult for you, others will misunderstand you, others will, one, they will give you the wrong advice. Number two, they themselves are bad examples of how to grieve. A good example is they quickly suggest for you what are called instant gratifications. Tukunywe. Wacha nikutafutie mrembo. Twende Mombasa. Let's do one thing. So they'll show you toxic grieving habits. Then the other thing is that they will hackle you. You're weak. Wacha kuonyeshana sijui what. So they will really challenge your ego. Now, that complicates your grieving. Now you end up with what we call complicated grieving. And now, when now you may take a step back and say, no, I'm feeling uncomfortable with these guys, they can't understand me. Now, when you maybe decide to pull back from there, maybe you're in a chama, you pull out. Maybe you're in an office group, you pull out because they are calling you all names, they're heckling you. Now you end up having another grief over grief because you're losing friends. Another grief over that grief because you're losing support. And not just the support from just anyone, from people you felt were closest to you. You feel like they have betrayed you. The other one is, of course, the other one, like George had said, family. Family is also not easy. Because even in the family, there are also men, there are uncles, there are brothers, their grandfathers, their cousins who are also men. But you would expect them to understand, in instances, maybe it was the death of my wife or the death of your wife, because they were even there in the community and they were even there in the family funeral, you would expect them to be immediate support, to be checking on you, to be calling on you. But I can tell you, we all know, after we leave the funeral, most of our men, and I have seen this many times, they go straight to the bar. Kama tumeenda Murang'a, Nyeri, Meru, they don't even start drinking. They don't wait to come back to Nairobi. They start drinking in Meru. That is a way of coping with the grief. And now they are in the grief, they start mocking you. Hey, natoma amelia. Kiama. Sikuwa na hata sijaelewa hata natoma akilia. Akiamulia ni wana machozi ya Tom. As they are drinking, they are mocking you. Now, from when they come to Nairobi, they quickly forget you because they already saw your tears. They show your weakness. Wacha tumpatie time kama Christmas. Hata mimi sitaki mambo ya tomoja, nipatie kama 1 year grief kwanza, alafu tutapatana. So now, when you come back to Nairobi, you lose the support of your brothers, cousins, because they are avoiding you, because they feel that you are someone to be avoided. It's someone like, someone maybe tunasemanga mtu ako na amejikojolea of somebody who is going through something they are uncomfortable with, they don't want. So now you end up having another grief level, which is the loss of your family support. Now, the other one was your friend support. The other one is the other men who are giving you or showing you instant gratification. Other men, we are also very competitive. We are also very, very, very competitive, and we are very good at bashing each other. So some men get power over a man who is grieving by making him look weak, by making him look bad, by calling him names. And that's why now, as Mary was saying, that's why they can get a very good opportunity to call you mama. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tom. So, in that regard, so for you having gone through it, how would you support, how would you help men seek for that male support? I don't know if I'm clear.
I can only give you my examples of what I did. When I realized that the support was what I realized, what I just said, I said, wait a minute, I have to go through this, but I need to there's some things which I have to change. One, you know, grieving is like the way you see a tree shedding leaves. So after I finished shedding leaves, and I would advise men to do this, is that some things have to change. One, I had someone say a support group. The other one is, among your friends, advise these men, among their friends, out of 10, there will be 2 or 3 who can be leaned on. There will be 7 who may not be relied so much on. The other one is to go online. There are a lot of support materials on Google. There are a lot of support materials, even videos. There are very many videos on YouTube on how to grieve or how to overcome loss or all these emotional challenges that come. There are also very many churches that now have support groups for grieving men. Or people who have lost loved ones, or people going through loss, people going through divorce. I know Nairobi Chapel is one of them. It is very, very good. And that I went to Nairobi Chapel, Ngong Road, and I got a very good support. And the men we grieved with there, we still have the group, and we are about 29 of us. Until today, we still meet for Nyama, we support each other, we support our children. The other way is self-care and self-love. As you're going through, you need, like George said, take good care of your health, take good care of how you eat, you're sleeping, how you're dressing, take care of your thoughts, your minds, what you're feeding your mind on. And I think, and most important is that there are some doors to be shut. There are some people who need to be avoided when a man is grieving. anybody who is toxic, anybody who is not understanding him. And sometimes it could even mean taking or changing jobs, maybe taking a sabbatical, living in the country. And it could also mean that maybe he changes the church, he changes the gym, he changes work, he changes friends. That could also be a good way to grieve, because you cannot grieve well or process it well when you're being heckled on places which are not healthy for you. Yeah, I think those are just some of the few ones that. And another major one is, let's say you have a family. The grief has affected you and your children, immediately your nuclear family, your children and your wife. Let's say if it's the loss of your wife, the grief has affected you, and you have 3, 4 children or 5 children. Now you have to. I'd suggest what is called joint grieving. Joint grieving is where you know that you're all affected. Your mother is affected, your sister is affected, your brother is affected, your kids are affected. So you have more like grieving rituals, uh, talking about it, supporting each other, supporting your kids, because you might be supporting yourself, but your kids are just locking themselves in their rooms. You might be going to the gym, but your wife is all alone in the house, she's sad. You might be going to a support group, but your child is not able to grieve well because of your loss, and your child is having issues suspended from school. So as you grieve, know that the people around you also need you. You need to grieve jointly, and you need to be sensitive that whatever has happened to you as a man, as you grieve, because they are watching you, they are looking at your feelings, how you are grieving, and all the activities that you're doing, they are feeling you, they are watching you, and you could be impacting them positively or negatively. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you for that input. I'm seeing Munira's hand up. Munira, good evening and
Yeah, I
welcome.
think, yeah. Sorry, I came in late. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, you're audible.
Yeah. Sorry, I came in late, but I heard half the lecture, and it was a wonderful lecture, very, very to the point, and it was really okay. Now, what I want to say is you need more professional help to sort out your grief. You can go for individual therapy, you need to go for support groups where a lot of psychoeducation needs to happen. There are lots of programs also that can be initiated in the community because people do not know what is grieving. They think that there's a lot of trauma when somebody dies, when you lose a job and all that. So a lot of psychoeducational programs have to be chartered out. Okay, and then when you grieve, you need to find closure, which is so important. Because if you don't find closure to that grief, you're going to have create havoc for your relationships, for so many. Your productivity is low. Everything is because of the lack of closure. So you have to find closure. And so that's why you need professional help. You may talk to your friends, your male friends, but they are not understanding. They you said there is competitiveness and all that. So I think you need a professional person to navigate, uh, to help you navigate the struggles that you're all going through. Because a professional can put them in their right place. If there is competition within the group, she can put them in the right place. So it is that's why you need a professional in that group. That's for all I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you, Munira, for your input. Someone else? Either with a question or an input. Yeah, one of the things that um, I've seen also is that we grieve differently. Um, some of us will take time. Some of us will take longer than others when we are grieving. Early this year, I lost a close family person, and while I was in it, someone was asking me, "Hey, you are taking so long outside Nairobi. I mean, that is something for just a few days." And I was asking myself, uh, what does this person mean? What does this person mean? So then maybe the rituals. I remember some George talking about rituals for that will help us in grieving. So some of these rituals, some of us may take them longer or may take them more deeply than others. Some of these rituals may not be the same, uh, either individually, in terms of culture, yeah, in terms of practice, they may be different. So then it is okay for us to remember that we grieve differently, and there is no defined way of grieving that we can say that this is the only way. Even in those different ways that we are grieving, let us make sure that we do all that is helpful for us to be able to grieve well. I think that's what I wanted to add. Um, I don't know whether, as you are coming to the end, uh, Sami, anything to say, Sami?
Yes, I may want to share some experience that I have had,
Yes, please.
and also that you have mentioned here about how women find it easy because they have got their shamas and women groups. While we men, we have that problem. The experience I'm sharing here is one when we had a social gathering with some men, and it happened that there is one man who talked about his experience of what he was going through. We were about 8 men. So what we found is that after he had presented his issue, is that all the men there, they were up on arms. They wanted also to present theirs. And it's something that took us from around 9 in the night to almost around 2 in the night, because everybody was kuashwa, because he wanted to talk about what is happening in his house. So I don't know how we could have these forums also for men, because this happened because of the situation of where we were at that particular moment. Because I found that this is something that would help men to continue healing as they are grieving in their own ways. Because like as I was telling you, even that time we did have a way of closing it. Is because of time that we had to stop, continue talking. So I don't know whether there is any way through the councillors that these kind of men groups could be formed so that they can be sharing their own issues also. That's what I wanted to present.
Thank you, Sami. That is something very important. Support group. Coming up with a support group for men. Thank you so much. Joseph, sorry. Joseph, I don't know whether you want to say something as we come to the end. Okay, Augustine.
I can add something. Sorry.
Okay, Joseph.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, thank you. Yes, mine was a contribution on the same, and but there's something that I've realized of it that when you find a man grieving, most of the time you find that they have double grief, or they have a grief. They are in grief is another loss, but the facilitator for the day he has been able to assist on how it is the progression of grief as per the Krugerus. It doesn't progress as per the what Krugerus was saying. So mine was I picked so much on that. Sometimes you find that someone is in denial, they are bargaining, they go back, and the cycle continues. So mine was I picked so much on that on how to assist them as we move forward. So thank you very much and have a blessed evening.
Okay, thank you, Joseph. Very important contribution there. Yes, Augustine. I don't know.
Okay, good evening, everyone.
Good evening to go on.
Okay, mine is to say that there is a point you have articulated well that there is no standard way of grieving. Grieving can be different for different people, and it doesn't mean that there is a one way of grieving is wrong. And it's important to appreciate that the fact that for us men, our grief is a little bit different because we don't share so much. We are not so much into the social groups, the support groups, but they are very important if one can be able to join one. And at times we find that due to the societal expectations, we tend to act strong or to feel strong for the sake of ourselves and for the sake of others. But at times the grief may hit us down afterwards. Maybe it may not be immediate, but a month later, 3 months later, 6 months later, it may even take toll of us. But at least there are a few insights that have been shared by George on several means that we can be used to grief. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, Augustine. So we want to come to a close, to an end, unless there's someone who wants to say something.
George, on the chat, I had asked an important question to George. Hello?
Yes, Tom.
Thank you very much. You can hear me, eh? And let me just explain this one briefly. Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
There's something here that's on the chat about if you can ever go away completely. Yeah? Yes?
Yes. What I meant is that
You can, okay. So I was saying, like,
as much
imagine
as you
that
have
maybe
made
you have
that
lost a loved
people
one,
grieve,
maybe a
people
child
grieve
or
differently.
maybe a spouse or something like that. Eh? Yeah. Mm.
Yes, George. Go on, George.
Yeah. Oh, I thought Tom was talking. Yes, I was saying that like that's why you say you have memorials and stuff like that, eh? To remember that maybe you've lost a loved one, a child, or maybe you lost a job or something like that. Eh? When it goes away, like if you lose your wife, you'd be saying that I lost this 20 years ago, 30 years ago. So like that memory is still there. But the process should be now like yes, so and so we lost, but then even as we embrace and accept that actually yes, it happened and now we appreciate and it's no longer there. That I can even discuss about that event without feeling emotions. And one of the ways that you can check that if you have been able to accept and move on, some people when they talk about an experience that they went through, either of loss and death, they have a lot of energy even to describe it, and they don't have express a lot of emotions, like a lot of weeping and crying. Whenever somebody like has that whenever you discuss about maybe a loss that happened, every time you break down, that means that maybe the healing has not taken place. But the more you discuss about it, then you eventually like kind of come to realize that there is part of life, and you kind of you're okay with that. That's not like
Okay, thank you. I think George has left, so we can finish.
have I left?
Oh, yes, you left, George.
No, I was just explaining in terms of the anniversaries. Whenever it come, and you can talk about it like maybe accepting that this happened, then that shows that maybe the healing has taken place somehow. But every time that you discuss about a loss or death, then you break down to emotions. It means that there's still some unfinished business that somebody need to work through. Although there's no like timeline that you have to finish, but somebody will keep on working on it. The more they discuss about it, you have seen the survivors who come to share their stories on TV or other media outlets. They just express it so like boldly, yeah. Now I feel, hey, this one like I'm the one now who's feeling emotional, but the person expressing it like he has been able to accept and adjust. That's what I wanted to mean in terms of that, yeah. So you still remember it, but now you remember it in a different way. It's not through pain, but I'm looking at it now, maybe experience and all that, and I accept that this happened and moved on. Yeah. And I also want to mention that when it comes to the issue of like grieving, when you go to like this matanga and people are grieving, the people who normally are very busy. I know sometimes people can like they are getting distracted. They are not grieving. So when it comes to the issue of grieving, somebody's always doing many things. So when you see that such people, just try to maybe just try to calm them down, let them talk, because sometimes people can just be busy doing many things so that they don't face that. And then when that has happened, when you have the burial has taken place, so you start grieving at that time. Hey, now the it's home. So there are different ways you can support these people, and mainly for men. I want to focus now, son. Yeah? Thank you, and back to you, Evans.
Maybe I could just add,
Yes.
maybe just to support what George has said. Thank you. As we close, a very important point has come in. George has just mentioned something. As we go to these matangas, whenever we go to a matanga, there is something, the grieving that can be triggers. Triggers can make us feel the grief and loss again. I lost my job 11 years ago. And now, whenever I hear an organization has laid off, a friend of mine has lost their job, I, I feel disturbed. I feel some distress. The other day, my best man lost he was laid off, just the way I was. I felt distressed for like 3 days until I had to go and talk to him. So the aspect of triggers is there. Whether it is 10 years, 20 years, you can be triggered when you go to a funeral. If you have lost a loved one, you can be triggered when you hear or see an accident, when you've been involved in an accident, or you've been involved, you've gone through divorce. You can be triggered when your brother is going through divorce, or when a friend is going through divorce, or even when you hear the word. So I think part of the self-care and part of the management is to educate people, like what Munira was saying, social, psychological education, psychosocial education, for people to better be more self-aware and to manage their triggers. The triggers will come and go because there will be so many environmental factors. Like you see now during the protests, there are people who are being triggered. If you've ever been arrested by a policeman, if you've ever been put in a cell, if you've ever had an encounter with policemen or in a violent or a protest situation, a lot of people are triggered. The death of Ojwang, to be honest, also triggered me. Many people felt that loss, like what he went through. Many people felt like they have lost a loved one and they were triggered again. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you so much, Tom. Thank you, George, for that just emphasis. I want to thank everyone for coming in and taking their time, their 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 resources to be here
Can
this
I say
evening.
something?
Yes, Munira.
Yeah, I think somebody just mentioned he was grieving after a long time. This is all delayed grieving. It's important to accept it. And if this acceptance comes uh, at any time, it doesn't have to be, we want quick fixes, everything has to be done at a certain time. It doesn't. So I just want to, and that's one thing. The other thing I want to say is about triggering. Triggers always will be there, because you said you go to a burial, you'll find a trigger, you see an accident, you'll find a trigger. I do EMDR, that's trauma therapy. So people go through trauma, and what we help them do is process the trauma they've gone through during the grief. So after the trauma therapy, they remember everything about the trauma, but they are not distressed by it. Okay, that's the beauty of EMDR, which is a trauma therapy. And now the what they say is when you've been traumatized, it affects your brain negatively. But now the neuroscience says that the brain cells rejuvenate with positive experiences in life. There's a research done on Kenyatta University students. They were given early adverse childhood experiences, which is a trauma test, and they got, out of 10 scores, they got 6. So they had 6 traumas out of 10. So it was very high. But when they became students and they got jobs, which was positive experiences for them, and that helped them to rejuvenate their brain cells, and they were much more in control of their life. So you need to go for professional help. That's why I was impressing upon professional help. Thank you.
Thank you so much for that. So I want to thank you all. Just like I was saying that this forum is there for us once in every month. So maybe in the month of July we will also organize one. And feel free to come up with to share with us and a topic that you'd want us to share. Thank you so much. Welcome to Acadia Harmony Counseling and Wellness Center. And let's keep on supporting our men and each one of us in terms of grieving. So I'll ask Mary to pray as we close. Then we can leave at our own pleasure.
Okay, let's pray. Father, we are grateful for the time we've had together. Thank you for the lesson that has come up. May we be better in our counseling areas and also in helping others. Be with us. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen.
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 Okay, thank you, everyone. Good night.
Good night.